Is Renee going to be able to be here?
She's just leaving Park City, so probably not.
Hopefully Mike
Mike comes,
gets
yeah,
in.
yeah. Because we're not going to have a meeting on March 8th because it's the caucus meetings, so.
Did everybody else pause at 2:22 today and have a moment of silence at 2:22 and 2:22?
No, we should have, huh?
You got one more chance at 10:22 because just put your clock on military time and then it's 22:22.
Oh, there's Mike. Yay. Okay.
I just saw the kids were all texting me. It's 2:22.
How we doing? Good.
Well, I think it's the four of us tonight.
Just the four of us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cheers. They filled it, don't they?
Maybe we just got softer.
These new chairs, Kathy?
A while ago,
Oh,
like a year ago.
oh, really?
Residential looks pretty good.
You've been too tense to notice the last little bit.
You mean the elevations?
No, I think the residential one looks okay. It's the other,
Maybe not
the
that long,
commercial
right?
doesn't.
Thank you.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, but I always put mine over to a PDF,
Oh,
so I don't ever have trouble. Have you got problems bringing it up?
mm-hmm.
Junior, Mike to help you with that?
No, I'll get it. Nothing. I'm all
Just, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll wait 1 minute and then I'll go ahead.
It hasn't been that long time to ask me if I entered a password. I don't know why,
Do you want him to help you?
don't you?
I'm not getting any internet.
Are you guys not getting in?
I don't have the internet.
Yeah, yeah, it's trying to get me to put a password and stuff.
Mike? Yeah, both of these can't get in.
Mine connected also.
Well, I just got, so I put mine over to PDF when it comes in, so then I don't have to.
When I remember I do.
Yeah, because well, and then I can mark it up
I
too.
download my email and then it's
Got a
there.
lot of goofy-
PDF versus going to the website.
Well, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Then I can mark it
Did
up
they
too.
change the password?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right. Didn't mean to do that.
Back up there.
Okay, let me know when both of you are in and we'll go ahead.
I'm in.
You're in?
Yep.
Oh, you got it? Let me try again.
Are you getting it?
I think so, yeah. You can go ahead.
So are we okay to go ahead? Okay. I'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for February 22nd, 2022 or 22222, which is kind of fun. This meeting is being recorded. And we'll begin our meeting this evening with an opening prayer by Commissioner Johnson. And then we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Callis.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to come together tonight as citizens of this great city. We're grateful for all those who've moved here or chosen to stay here, that reside here. We're grateful for those who serve this city. We're grateful for the many blessings and bounteous resources that we have here. We ask thee to please bless us that we can make wise and prudent decisions, that we can make sure that we understand the ordinances fully and correctly as we make our decisions tonight. And we ask thee to bless us that we can think of those that are currently in the city and those that will come. And we're grateful again for all that thou hast given us, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the audience please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Besides those of you who are residents and here for items on the agenda tonight, we welcome you, but we also welcome our new councilman. I guess you're to be sworn in next week, is that right? Councilman Darrell McElby, and appreciate you being here, and your supervision is over the Planning Commission, so that's terrific. Thank you for being here. Okay, we're going to go ahead with a audible roll call. We have several of our commissioners missing that are absent tonight or excused. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Jared Showers is excused. Rob Callis.
Here.
Stephen Johnson.
Here.
Scott Thompson is excused. And Renee Tribe is excused. Okay.
Renee could be here towards the end. So.
Okay. And as far as the minutes, we've received the minutes ahead of time, had a chance to review those. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I didn't see any. I thought they looked great. If we're ready, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Okay.
So
do you
I'll
wanna
make that
a
motion. I make the
Okay.
motion to approve the minutes.
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. The next item on our agenda this evening is a time for public comment. This would be for any items that are not already on the agenda for this evening. Anyone here for that purpose? Okay, and if you could state your name, and
I have several.
would you like to come up to the front,
I
or?
can talk loud enough, I'm sure
Okay.
everyone will hear me.
Okay, go.
But it won't be recorded.
It won't be recorded, though, so, and we have several residents that come on Zoom and, oh, not on Zoom, we're on YouTube.
I don't know that they need to really see me, but
Well, we like to hear you, though.
maybe not. I don't know.
Okay,
First thing is are they giving any credit to going zero-scape in your yards now? Is there any credit given by the city to encourage us to quit using the water? First, the only reason I'm asking that is because I understand that we're going to have meters on our water. And I live in Lindon, where I'm on 3.5 acres, and I'm actually very privileged, I know. But my mother gave 11 shares of water in 1990 in terms that there would never be pressurized irrigation. So we need to reevaluate what we're doing with our property. And if we need to make it zero-scape to utilize the water to have pasture, we need to know if there's any incentive from the city to get us to go zero-scape because of the water shortage.
I'm going to defer to our planning director, but as far as I'm aware, there aren't incentives in place yet at this time.
So there's no incentives, but the city doesn't have a landscaping requirement for single-family homes.
I realize that, but if they're going to monitor our water, we want to be ahead of the ballgame.
Yeah, so you could put in a xeriscape now, there's not.
You're not giving me any incentive to want to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and this will be probably a better discussion with the city council, than it will be the planning commission.
Okay, so apparently then I'm in the wrong meeting?
They would be the ones that would put that in place. And as far as metering, that's not happening yet at this point. Is that right?
No, it's going to be forced on us or mandated by the state legislature, but it's not in place yet, but they are going to set a deadline for cities to put that in place.
Okay, do we go back, grandfather in all of the people like my mother that gave up 11 shares of water so it would work back in 1990?
Yeah, so I'm probably not your best person to,
Nobody wants to answer that question.
yeah, I just.
Mary Ann, there's a couple of us on the same page if you are.
Yes.
That sit here on this
And I guess one
commission,
question.
we're just as I got 3.5 acres too that turned in a whole bunch of North Union water to,
Well, I'm
to
just
do it.
saying what,
but again, there, you know, it hasn't happened yet, but I feel you.
Yeah. I guess my question with that too, though, we're gonna be required to put meters in, but is there any mandate to charge, or is it just to monitor?
So I don't know.
So I think there's so many questions now, we don't even know what.
okay, is it going to be something that you're going to have public notice for more than just a meeting and the select few gets to make the decision?
You
I
know
would
what,
hope so,
this-
you bet.
This group will not, the planning commission will not make that decision. It will be city council that will make those decisions. Is that correct?
Are you not city council?
We're planning commission. So we
We
work with.
enforced what they put on the books as laws, but Rob and I both have acreage and we'll be to the same meetings you're at when that happens.
Well, I hope I'm informed of those meetings.
I'll make sure you are.
Okay,
May I make a comment?
Sure.
I know tomorrow evening, city council will have this as an agenda item, I believe, to discuss. I don't know if there will be any decisions made at that time, but you're welcome to come tomorrow evening.
Is that tomorrow evening, Wednesday? Okay.
at 6?
Correct, right? 5:30
This
is the
pen
regular
doesn't work.
session.
30
Is
December.
that because you did,
Don't make any decisions at the budget meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
it is a budget meeting, so it may be a discussion item, but it won't be any decisions made tomorrow.
It won't be a public notice meeting.
On the irrigation?
Yeah, they'll discuss it tomorrow night, like, I know there's a presentation by our public works director on, but they're not making any decisions, tomorrow's just a budget meeting, they'll have those future discussions in the near future. So they will post notices on the website, Mike will let you know when the council addresses that in more detail.
Okay. Now, my other issue is 400 North in Lindon. From Locust Avenue to 200 East. I don't know how much money that road cost you to redo this last year, but we live right where a culvert goes underneath the road. I came in August to try to talk to the mayor at that time, because I refused to talk to Juan or Zach. I've talked to them, all I'm gonna talk to them. Somebody above them needs to take over. But the culvert under the road, there's this much water in it right now. Okay?
okay,
That was brought to attention. Well, not only that, but after it was paved, they come in and lowered it 6 inches. Then they came back in and raised it 7. I have a horrible, ugly patch in the front of my mother's yard.
okay, now, I don't wanna,
is
pass
this not
things
planning
on,
commission?
but
Is this
it-
city council stuff? I'm at the wrong meeting.
It will come to city council, they're the ones that, you know, budget for and put in, you know,
Well,
arrange for
I
roads
think
and
more
that kind
people
of
need to
thing.
be aware of this.
Well, that's great, we're glad to have the awareness. But as far as having any ability to,
Okay, how do you make
Make
an
change.
appointment to meet with the mayor? I don't wanna do it on email, I don't wanna do it anything but face to face. And apparently, the last time, the mayor made several appointments with me, never showed, and would never make phone calls to say, I'm not gonna be there, or attempted to even resolve the problem. But you're gonna have a huge problem if it doesn't get taken care of.
Where do you live, ma'am? Or what culvert, where's this culvert at you're talking about?
4th North and 75 West. Right across the street from that ugly mess of dirt and junk.
I know the area.
I never said I would wish Don Peterson back in this. I'd take him back in a heartbeat. And Don Peterson and I did not get along.
Mary, if you want to give me your phone number, I'll be happy to reach out to you and give you more information and try to set up that appointment with the mayor.
368-5711. And the meeting tomorrow is 5:30?
Yes.
is there a time for public comment in that meeting, Daryl?
Kathy, there's not tomorrow night, is there?
No, it would be at the next meeting where there'll be public comment.
I'll reach out to you tomorrow and let you know when that is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming. Okay. The next item on our agenda, we're actually going to be discussing items 4, 5, and 6. This is a conditional use, site plan, preliminary approval, and recommendation for a major subdivision approval for 4 commercial lots and 65-unit residential lots at approximately 550 North State Street. And our applicant is Elwood Holdings.
I'm
And
here.
you're-
Amy's got COVID, so
Oh.
I'm going to do the best I can to
Okay.
represent.
And then I know that the Corbridges are also here representing that. Would you like to come up also?
Sure, if you like.
Sure, and then we can ask questions or, and this is a son, but I can't remember which one.
Son Spencer.
Okay, and Wayne Corbridge and Spencer Corbridge. If you want to come up, you can also, or? Okay, and thank you for being here. Okay, our presenting staff on this is Michael Florence, and we're going to have you go ahead.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. It's great to be here with you tonight. So, as Commissioner Call mentioned, there's 3 items: the conditional use permit, the site plan approval, and the major subdivision approval. So, for the first 2 items, the conditional use permit and site plan, you're the final land use authority. The major subdivision, you're making a recommendation to the city council on that item. So you're familiar with this site plan, the public's familiar with it. It hasn't changed a whole lot since the public saw this back in September when the city council approved the zone change. So what they're proposing this evening is site plan approval for one commercial building, which would be this building here. We'll go into more detail on that building as I go through the presentation. And then they are proposing the 46 townhomes and the 19 single-family homes. This is the very similar plan that was approved by the city council as part of the zone change. I'm gonna go through the motions and things at the end of the presentation and your options on that. Want to go through the site plan a little bit. So the project connects to 570 North, to this existing neighborhood. To the east, it connects to 500 North here, and then also to State Street. The density for the project is 8.47 units. That's what was proposed with the city council as well with the zone change. For parking, so the parking requirement for the residential use is 2.5 parking stalls per unit. So 2 stalls per unit, half a space for visitor parking. The total requirement for that is 168 stalls for, what the breakdown of the parking though is they've got 130 parking stalls with the 2-car garages, 130 stalls for the driveways for 2 cars, and then they have the 21 visitor parking stalls. You can see they've got 6 of them here. They've got some in between the units at the top as well. So they've got a total of 21. So ultimately, they've got a total of 281 parking stalls for the residential development. The commercial, the parking is we don't know the uses that are going in there yet, and so we're just calculating that on a more of a retail and office type ratio. So they're parked at 1 stall for every 250 square feet. I believe there's 38 stalls, if I remember right. Let me pull over, see if we have that. Oh, is it on the commercial site plan? Okay, but we'll go through that. I think there was 38 or 48, if I remember right.
It was
Somewhere right around there.
over 50 when we made the adjustments, so
Okay.
I'd say 52.
Okay. So that did meet the park, though they did meet that 1 per 250 requirement. If we go to talk about the setbacks a little bit. So the council did approve them that they can encroach with the road here into that commercial setback. So the 300-foot setback is measured right here in front of units 35 through 46, above Hawks Rest there. That's where that 300-foot setback is for the residential. So it does meet that requirement. The requirement that the project has to be at least 1 acre, they meet that. The commercial project is 5.76 acres, the residential is 7.67. The setbacks for the residential units, so the townhomes 34 through 40, or say 25 through 46, all have rear yards of approximately 8 to 10 feet. So the ordinance allows a combination of private setbacks or private yards and common open spaces. So they're proposing rear yards for 25 through 46 would be that 8 to 10 feet. Units 1 through 24, originally when the Planning Commission and Council saw this, they had 30-foot rear yards. What the developer's proposing is that they would still keep the 30-foot setback, which is required by the ordinance, but they'd do 15-foot rear yards, or 15-foot yards, and then another 15 feet with the trail in the back. That'll allow for better access to the rear yards for the homeowners association to maintain those for the townhomes. The single family on the exterior here, 101, 102, 103, 116, 117, 118, and 119, they will all have the 30-foot rear yards. The lots 104, 105, and then these interior lots here, they'll all have 15-foot rear yards for those single-family homes. So those lots, these interior lots will be very similar to the cottage-type homes that were approved down at Ivory Homes. The side yard setbacks required to be 16 feet, similar to the Anderson Farms development. So those are 16 feet between, for example, units 18 and 19. I'll go back up to a couple other pages real quick. So the perimeter fencing requirement is it's supposed to have a 7-foot masonry or precast fence. So you can see outlined in red where that 7-foot wall will be within the development.
Mike, on
Yeah.
that, just, I'm trying to think, between the church there and where that parking is there a current fence there? Is there gonna be, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's not against residential, so they don't need the 7-foot fence, but just curious what's gonna be,
Yeah, so the
or
ordinance,
will there be access to the church or not?
there will not be access. The church has an existing chain link fence in this area. One of the issues we ran into was there's this little accessory structure or shed there that the church has. If they put a wall in on that corner, they didn't meet clear view requirements. So when you're coming north on Talon's Reach Lane and heading east, there's this clear view issue there. Then we also, with these 6 parking stalls, if we put a wall there, the snow wouldn't melt for those 6 parking stalls. So it was determined with our city engineer that would prefer to have that stay in chain link along Talon's Reach Cove, right there next to the church.
But there's not access or anything there?
There's no access.
Thank
no.
you.
So, let's see, open space for the development, let me go through that. So for the residential, the project's supposed to have at least 20% common open space. Between the private rear yards and the common open space for the residential, they have approximately 32.7%. According to the HOA documents, the homeowners association is responsible for the front and rear yard landscape maintenance for the townhomes. The association is responsible for the front yard landscape maintenance of the single-family homes. The single-family owners are responsible for the rear yard maintenance of the project. For the commercial development, so this is, I'll get into this in a few minutes, but these 2 commercial properties here are actually divided into 4 lots. So the commercial building here, they would be required to have the 20 feet of landscaping along Songbird Cove. They'd also be required to have the parking lot landscaping. So they do meet the percentage on the landscaping requirement. We'll get into this in a few minutes. I'm not sure they meet the vegetation requirement, but they do meet the area requirement for landscaping. The light poles, they'll have the city standard light poles. You can see those in areas. You can see one here, another down on this corner, and then these 2 corners up here. You'll also have them along State Street, spaced every 100 feet along State Street. Let's see. Solid waste pickup, the single-family homes and the townhomes will all have individual cans. And then the dumpster for the commercial will be in this location. Let's see, traffic circulation, let's talk about that for a minute. One of the issues on 570 North, the council specifically gave us a condition that when they did the zone change, that the city engineering department and police department review potential traffic calming measures. The developer shows the road narrowing. I think, let me see if I downloaded that. So what the developer's proposing is that there'll be stop signs here at the intersection of 570 North and Talon's Reach Lane. And then you can see where the existing roadway and sidewalk is proposed that it narrows to the 29-foot asphalt width, or 29-foot asphalt width going into the townhomes and single-family homes here. So we got this late Friday. I did not have a chance to discuss this with the city engineer and the fire and the chief of police as a condition of the city council. My guess is, I think going into the townhome development, I think it helps slow traffic going in. I'm not sure that going eastbound, that accomplishes maybe what the city council wants, because the road widens here at 570. The city engineer and I have previously discussed some other options with the developer, so I think that needs to be looked at to make sure you feel comfortable with that traffic calming measure as approved or as conditioned by the city council. Any questions on the site plan itself?
Mike, I don't know if this falls under the site plan, but I did have a resident who can't be here reach out. When that cul-de-sac goes away, as part of the site plan, is the developer, I mean, I'm assuming they're gonna extend the curb, the road, you know, which isn't there currently on the outside? And is there any consideration for what that's gonna do to yards or of those, you know, the two residences there at the end there that have had this temporary cul-de-sac? I don't know if that's addressed at all in the site plan.
Yeah, I know with another one we did recently, they removed the asphalt, but and I'm not sure what happened after that. Maybe the developers can talk about what they've discussed. Do you want, would you like Mr. Corbridge to speak on that now, or?
Yeah.
If
we
if
will.
he's ready, that's.
Sure,
There was some questions we have.
sure.
Please address any other site plan issues at this time as well.
Okay, I'd be happy
Okay.
to. And so we have had discussions about that cul-de-sac. We'll take out the cul-de-sac that is there. We'll put in the curb and gutter, as you mentioned, and then we're going to connect everybody's driveway. The gentleman to the north has a very steep driveway, and so this allows us an opportunity to kind of go back into his lot, take that out, and give him a better angle, a better slope coming into his lot. So he'll end up with a better driveway. And so we'll pay for all that. We'll leave it up to the homeowners to do any landscaping and, you know, any finish work like that they want to do.
But you're looking at helping with the driveways and making sure those connect in correctly
yeah.
and all that, and then landscaping. That was
Okay.
a question they had with that.
Is that with the Stewarts and also who's the
So there's the Stewarts on the north and
North.
the Alvards on the south.
Alberts on the
And I
other
see
side?
Mrs. Alvard's here today, so
Okay.
that seems really formal. It's Amy, but.
Well, it's hard for some of us to not call Wayne Corbridge President Corbridge too. So,
Used to be.
yeah, well, that's still what we call.
And, you know, with that, I guess any other thoughts of traffic calming, or, I know that's one of the biggest concerns that the residents have had, right, with this. We now have access to two neighborhoods, right? We have the 570 North and the 500 North, which has been approved. But I think, that, you know, besides the narrowing, what thoughts have there been on trying to make that, as easy to swallow as possible, you know, with that? And I don't know if there's any other things with that could help address that, especially going out. Like I said, I think Mike's comment, you know, I think one of the biggest concerns is that people are gonna hit, and there's a little bit of turn in the road, but already teenagers try to hit the max before the stop sign, and now we're giving them an extra, 40 feet to see if they can get up to speed before they hit the stop sign. I just wondering what.
So I'll just mention, coming into the project, as you mentioned, the narrowing where the cul-de-sac used to be, we think will kind of slow people down, and then if they obey the traffic signs, I mean, we'll have two stop signs right there that'll stop the traffic as they come in to our project, that corner, and that will kind of discourage, I think, traffic from coming through or shortcutting through this neighborhood. But going back out, that's a little bit more problematic, and I think Boyd, our engineer, has a good idea there with restricting as it goes out. We're happy to look at other measures. If you want a speed bump, you know, we'll put in a speed bump. We're just not sure what else to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest change that we made, at one time we had a big swooping curve that just went through, and then we weren't as connected as we were. Anyway, so we've tried to distribute the traffic through the development so that some of it could go down to 500, some of it could go out to State Street. We eliminated the big swooping curve so that people would have to come to the intersection, and then they could make a right-hand turn to head east. So those were the changes that were probably the most drastic. But like Wayne said, we're open to suggestions if the city would like it.
And I don't know whether the residents would want it or not. I mean, maybe thinking of a speed bump would help, you know, the other way, maybe slow some of the traffic down. You said two stop signs. Am I missing where?
Well, no, I misspoke. There's one.
There's just one coming in, right? So there's,
Yeah.
as you come in, you'll stop before you go onto the loop, basically. But there's no stop signs on the loop going out.
No.
Okay.
There'll be stop signs, obviously, when you get down to State Street and those connecting roads, but not that will be the only one inside our project.
There'll be the one stop sign there at I guess that's actually gonna still be called 570. That's just a personal comment. I like numbers versus names, but that's, but as it comes, so 570 will have a stop sign on it before you turn onto Talon's Reach. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, would it be possible, today I was just discussing some things with them, and you showed me a picture that I thought had some really good suggestions. Can you still pull that up?
I just pulled that up. This is,
Okay,
this is one that our city engineer saw recently. You know, it's got some different materials for the crosswalk to identify that, you know, you're going into a residential neighborhood or going out. It you know, made it a little tighter right up next to the curb. You had the trees. I don't know, that was an idea he had, that maybe it felt like a little tighter right in
Well,
that area.
isn't there also it's not really a bump, but kind of a raise there
It does look like there's a slight raise to that,
that would
that
kind
road.
of
Not to the
slow?
speed bump
No,
size, but
Tabletop.
In that short of an area, a speed bump looked to me like it'd be pretty difficult, cause you
right.
got driveways coming out. I mean, they can't put it in front of somebody's driveway,
True.
No.
you know, so you're gonna be limited where an actual bump could be
Yeah,
put.
I don't know where they could put it. though.
Well, this looks like it's more of just kind of a raise there rather
Yeah,
than,
what Mike just showed, and something like that could be accomplished,
can you pull it up again?
yeah.
but not in that area where all those driveways are, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Right, and I don't know, because then we're right into the Alvards and Stewart's driveways on the other side. I mean, they're so close, so I don't know if there is a good place for,
Well, and then there's driveways, of course, to the east. You'd think,
Right.
you know, people would be
I don't-
respectful that people are backing out onto
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
street all the way up and down it.
I mean,
I have a
one-
hard time thinking where a speed bump would
Yeah,
go on
I
that
can't
street.
see where one could go.
But we would be happy there at our property line to change the pavement, you know, instead of asphalt, to do some concrete, like you saw in that picture.
Yeah,
Kind of change.
that could be
the
accomplished,
pattern.
but you pretty immediately get into those, new driveways you're gonna have to make for the two neighbors on both sides of there, so it'd have to be more cosmetic to slow things down than an actual bump, it looks to me like.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think you, like you said, you could do some things with landscaping and cosmetic,
Yeah,
you know, to
Narrowing
make
like
it
that shows-
look a little more
yeah.
narrow.
well, that entrance was so, what do you say, controversial? And the residents were so concerned about the cul-de-sac being opened up. And then also the speed and traffic through there, that I think anything that can be done to, and I know that was the direction of the city council to come up with options as far as slowing traffic down, going in and going out.
Steve, how much room is there, once you pass those two new driveways that need to go in? Is there a space where possibly a speed bump could be put once you pass those new driveways?
Yes,
heading
because
east?
both the Alvards and the Stewart's driveways are west. So you could probably maybe put one on the east side of their property. Amy had a
And
speed bump, you know, on the top
even
east
though,
side of you and the
you know,
Stewart's.
even though this isn't a public hearing, we always welcome public comments. So if you have comments, then
And-
just raise your hand, give your name.
Our driveway's quite a bit away from your entrance. It's the Stewart's that's mostly closer to your entrance.
Oh,
Our
it is
driveway,
away.
their driveway's at the end, ours isn't.
Yeah, right.
I know our public works department is not big on speed bumps because of the snowplow issues and
Right.
stuff.
And
I
the other
has-
question, maybe I can ask if Amy just, I saw that the narrowing happened in front of both the Stewart's and the Alvards' house. I know that currently the Alvards have family members living with them and stuff, and this area is used for parking. Would the narrowing of that make it more difficult? I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for, we have legal accessory apartments there that have people park on the street at times. will that narrowing along with that cause traffic problems there, you know, or whatever with, I don't know how much narrow it is, if it's still gonna allow for on-street parking or not.
We have at least 2 cars will be parked where that half circle is for us. It's usually filled with cars. We have 7 cars that live at our house on a regular basis, and so that half circle is our parking lot, and our kids park in there, and then neighbors will park in there too. So we have a legal apartment, and so we will definitely have at least 3 cars that will park right there. We have a fire hydrant in front of our house, so we're very limited on what we can put in front of our house, so we've always parked down there. So I can guarantee we will have cars that will park.
But that may
Just
limit,
straighten that.
that may limit what the developer can do as far as the traffic calming there.
And the narrowing,
Yeah.
that'll only allow
Maybe-
for parking on one side.
Yeah,
Right,
if
so
it gets
that-
narrowed down.
That's my concern with the narrowing happening outside the
It is
development.
gonna need to probably stay full width then.
I would probably say
But
my recommend, maybe the narrowing happens on the first lot inside the development versus the lots outside the development, if that.
Just a consideration, the curb will be a mountable curb, so if they wanted to be able to pull cars into the property, they would be able to overtop the curb and drive on, so if they wanted to provide additional parking on their own lot, that is a possibility. I just wanted to point out that the curb would be a different spot.
Okay.
I mean, for the Stewarts, I don't know if it's as big of a problem, because the narrowing's gonna happen on their driveway, where that's not, where they don't park, you know, but my concern would be more for, and maybe if it's just one side, then the parking can happen on the Alvord side and it's not a problem, but,
Stewards would actually get more parking because their driveway would get longer,
right, and you can't park in front of the driveway anyway.
like park in the driveway.
But you can park in their driveway. So maybe it's not a problem because the Alvards, their side can be the side to park on.
It's a parking lot.
Okay.
That was just my concern, is that the narrowing is happening. I mean, we're going from a cul-de-sac, they're used to a lot of room, to actually even a more narrow road.
So, I don't know, maybe we're trying to engineer something here by committee, but as soon as you enter into our property, our side yards there are 10 feet. And I know there are some times when you just kind of put a little landscape island. We could put like a 10-foot landscape island that kind of protrudes into the road 5
Yeah.
feet or whatever,
Yeah.
and put a tree there.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that was-
narrow it down.
Yeah, kind of like, I know by the park, by Pheasant Brook.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
those
there's-
crosswalks with the little triangles or whatever that,
Yeah,
Narrow the
yeah.
roadway and, yeah, down there, yeah. If you take 800 west heading north through
Yeah.
Salisbury, there's a couple of examples of that there.
I would imagine
Put a
that's
tree
more of
there,
a snow removal problem than a speed bump.
What's that?
I would imagine that's more of a snow removal problem than a speed bump,
What they've done down there in
necking
Salisbury?
it in like that,
Well, but you're only necking it in for a really small area.
yeah.
But it'll pose a
yeah.
little bit of a gymnastic feat
Yes.
for the snowplow.
Would it be possible for the developer to come up with some options, and is that something we have to look at, or is that something that can be worked with staff on that?
So I guess we need to discuss that, because I've tried for months to get something. And so, we have not got there besides a stop sign.
Let me-
Okay.
Let me ask you this, as we had all these proposals presented to us, some of us were opposed to having exit onto 570. But it was voted that way, that's the way it is now. So now are we trying to throw that responsibility onto the developer?
Just some narrowing so that the traffic isn't so,
Rob, I think the thing is when the city council approved it, that was the condition they put on it. They said they wanted 570 to go through, but they wanted measures to calm the traffic to also be considered.
I don't remember that.
yeah,
Was it?
The actual city council meeting, that was the motion. So I think that's why we're
I
discussing
see.
it.
I don't think we did that, but it got added at city
They got it
council.
out of the city council level.
Okay.
I haven't thought, I'm not an expert.
Can you give your name,
Oh,
please?
sorry, Shawnee Keith.
Okay,
I live on 600 North, my house is like right in the middle, but it's, that has nothing to do with my comment. My comment is, you know, when you're driving along and like you go from like pavement to like cobblestone or something, you always slow down, or I always slow down. So maybe like 15 feet is something like that. I don't, that was just my thought.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have thought about that, but
okay.
that's. I
Well,
don't know what
let's
the
kind of,
residents think, but-
I think we've given the message to the developer that some options on that need to be come up with.
Could I ask who makes the
Sure.
final decision? Because we can submit them to Mike. Would Mike make the decision, or would this body make the decision?
The planning commission and
So
and
it
city
says the city
staff.
engineer, the chief of police and the city engineer need to make that decision. That was a condition of the council. We're not seeing that yet, and so we
Okay.
want to make sure that we actually get something, that if you approve it with a motion that, you know, either brings it back to you, then goes to the city engineer and chief of police, or it is clear that the city engineer and chief of police have to approve something, like the council said.
And I think that's what we leave it at.
Okay, yeah, so that it can be done at a
is-
staff level.
Because it sounds like we got a willing developer to do what
Right,
can be done,
right.
but there's a lot of limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the chief of police and the city engineer,
Yeah, that was the motion of the city council.
And with the city council, just, was there, I mean, what was the wording on?
Yes, so
the-
it's
would
under,
you just- we
it's
just
under
forget-
traffic circulation. Let me pull that up.
Just what the wording exactly was on,
Yeah.
more for the developer, so they're clear of what they're trying to meet, right? The motion said this, and so that hopefully they're online with this.
Yeah, it's in the staff report. Says the city council condition their zone change approval on the condition that the city engineering department and police department review potential traffic calming measures.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, but it doesn't, there's nothing in there about, okay, just,
No, because
that there needs to be something, that they need to review it, I
there's
guess, if
gotta
there
be
can be.
something that goes in there, yep.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a level of traffic calming or, but that's the wording, so.
No, I mean, we met 2 or 3 weeks ago on this, I don't have it up, on that one there, but again, we haven't seen anything, so.
well, let's go ahead and if, Mike, if you have
Yeah,
anything
I just want,
additional-
if Wayne and Jenny, if you want to discuss any site plan issues that I may have missed as I go back to that. Site plan, if there's anything I didn't, that you'd like to discuss more in detail.
Yeah, just one thing, I think, is just in light of the conversation before, earlier in this meeting with regards to water, we're very sensitive as well to water usage, and I don't know if you've seen the landscape plans.
Yeah,
but
let me
they're-
pull that up.
It's a zero-scape, low water usage landscape plan, and so back in the back, for example, where you have that trail, that, in the past, we do all that in grass, right? And with this plan, we're gonna do it in a flagstone chip mulch with no grass, so there won't be any watering, irrigation needed. And all the landscape, the plant palette is a low water usage plant palette. You can see that we do have turf in key areas, but we're trying to minimize the water usage. And so we've tried to be very sensitive to that going forward with this project.
Have you looked at what the state legislature's been putting out there, just so you're not putting something in you gotta tear out to make it even more meet the guidelines of the
Yeah.
new water proposals? Yeah.
Yeah, we actually build at Daybreak, we build about 100 townhomes a year up there, and Daybreak has implemented some very rigid standards, and so.
So you should be fine with whatever the state's in the process of mandating to us?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll exceed what the state's doing.
Okay, good.
Just a curiosity, as I see that trail back there then, any lighting for that? Because we have people behind it, we're gonna have all these new residences. One is the safety, if we have a fence, but we're basically, right, we have fenced yards and a 7-foot fence, so you're gonna have an alley.
Yeah,
And so is it gonna be lit or is it not? And
I think it will be. I noticed in the staff report,
Right.
Mike had recommended that. Around the pickleball court, we have some bollard lights, and you know what a bollard is, light. And that's lit, and we'd be happy to use that same type of bollard and light that pathway in the back. But we don't want to have lights glaring in the neighbors'
No,
Yeah, how tall would those lights be?
4 feet. They're just kind of,
really kind of a walkway light, yeah.
is that,
yeah.
is that what we have like up at,
It's what we do around all of our parks.
our parks around the trails? Yeah.
Well, and that was one of the questions we were supposed to address is whether we wanted to ask the developer to do the bollard lighting.
I would think that that's gonna
Rather
feel like
than
an
just
alley
the rear
if you
yard
don't.
lighting.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it, so I would say we would absolutely do it.
Okay, okay.
I think this landscape plan is very well done.
Looks good.
All right.
Mr. Corbett, maybe you could talk about the amenities real quick.
So, yeah, so we have the trail that we think is an amenity. The main amenity, as you can see there, is a pickleball court. We thought about a lot of different amenities, playgrounds and so forth, but our target market for the project is not young families. It's empty nesters, it's professionals, and pickleball is a hot amenity right now. And so we'll have a pickleball court. Next to it, there are 2 picnic benches for kind of a picnic area, and then I think we have another bench up across the street, up to the left corner of the project. And so those are the amenities. The pickleball court will have a 12-foot fence to contain the balls. It won't be lit because we didn't want to have lights shining in neighbors' windows, and we didn't want to encourage night play and noise.
That's a
and
good
people
idea.
try to sleep.
And is it, residents, is it for the residents or is it a public pickleball court?
We would be happy to invite the planning commission to come, but it'll be aside.
Wondering, I just
Is that
know,
what you're going after?
no, I don't even know how to
Aside
play
from
pickleball, so I've never touched it.
I think a lot of people from American Fork come play there.
No,
Or is it, is it gonna be gated and keyed for residents only, or is it gonna be kind of just signage, residents only?
I don't think we'll have a key on it, but it'll be intended for the homeowner association. It'll be maintained by the homeowner association, so.
It could be keyed though down the road if it
Yeah.
were a problem.
If
They-
it got to be
they
a problem
could
that people
put a
were,
Key on the
You have to
gate.
be a guest of a resident.
But where they're not putting lights there, it's not gonna attract people to come
at night.
play after
That would be my
dark.
worry, is that people from all over the place are coming to play at a place at night.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Well, as I look through this, I think the townhomes and the residential are very attractive.
Well,
And
thank
the
you.
thing that pleased me is that there's very few things that aren't completely compliant with our architectural guidelines and how we wanted things set up with the new ordinance that we put in place. The traffic calming, that was an issue, or, the bollards, just a few things like that. Now, the commercial building, that's another issue. But as far as the residential, and I'd like input from the other commissioners, to me, it looks like it complies very well with what we were hoping to have happen.
Maybe I can go through those renderings for the
Right.
public.
That would be
Real
great.
quick. I appreciate the plans that have been put together, so we can see what this project looks like. So this would be the road, this one here is the road out to State Street. So this is looking east to the development. So the project has 8 townhome buildings, and then there's 5 different styles of townhomes as far as architectural design on the exteriors. So these are all, you've got 7 sixplexes, 1 fourplex building. You can see, here's the ground level perspective. This would be looking to the northwest. These lots would be the single-family home lots, the interior ones that you see here. The floor plans, Mr. Corbridge, maybe you could just talk about the floor plans real quick. What site, or what units, or how many bedrooms, and
Yeah, they're all two-story townhomes. They all have two-car garages. They have basements that will be unfinished, and then we'll have an option to finish. If they want, we'll finish the basements for them. Otherwise, it'll be unfinished space. They all have 3 bedrooms upstairs. 2 of them have two-story vaulted area over the kitchen, or the dining living area. So they'll be very dramatic. They're large, larger than normal townhomes. We're, again, targeting kind of a professional or empty nester, large master suites. We've really paid attention to windows and sight lines and making them very attractive.
Right.
Thank you.
So with those basements, are they all, do any of them have exterior entrances?
No,
Okay, so they're all interior entrances, okay.
Yep.
That's perfect.
yeah.
so I'll run through the designs, architectural designs real quick. So our ordinance requires that you have no more than, I think that's 30% stucco. Most of these are a combination of hardy board and brick or block veneer. So you can see the different roof lines. I like the architectural detail with the chimneys to break that up. You can see the windows are compliant with the transoms and mullions. They have the canopies over some of the windows. They meet the windows meet the trim requirements. The garage doors have the windows in the garage door itself. So this is one style. Here you can see the side elevation and the rear elevation. So this is the second style. Let's see. This will be the third. And then, let's see, the fourth, and then this is the fourplex building. So as I went through those in your staff report, went through the different design standards, I found those meet the commercial design standards the residential design standards that are in the planned residential development overlay zone. Will confirm the stucco percentage and stuff as we get building plans in. Then we gave you also some concept designs for the single family. So there's 4 of those options that would be used for the 19 single family homes. Again, they're all 2-car garage, meeting similar design standards. And this would be more the single story cottage type home.
How long will the driveways be on those single-family housing?
So they're all 20 feet.
20 feet?
So with the townhomes and the single, I think they're 21 feet actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any questions on the residential before we move over to commercial?
I guess just my same question about basements and stuff. I know we were talking about not having accessory apartments here, and that has to go through the process, but, like on the single family, I'm assuming same thing. Are there any exterior, I think we're worried about having, accessory apartments in this tight of a community, and so, are all of those basements just accessed from inside, or they're exterior?
Yeah.
They're
Just
all,
like the townhomes.
they're all interior, there's no
walkouts.
no walkouts and stuff that could easily lend to someone finishing it as an apartment?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the commercial.
Mike,
Oh,
I
sorry.
think most of the residents that are here are, their concerns are with the residential. So do any of you have other questions concerning, the residential area? Okay, go ahead.
I try to keep quiet. My name's Bill Fairbanks. I don't do a very good job of it. On the speed bumps, I've been involved with some city planning in other cities, but just the regular speed bump stops traffic and then they go over it. The problem they have is it also stops ambulances and it stops fire trucks. And if you do the tabletop, especially where there's a crosswalk, it raises the pedestrians up to where they're more visible, and the ambulance and the fire truck can still go over, roll over it and not have to come to a complete stop, which makes a difference in how fast they can show up somewhere, so just a thought. I know
Okay.
Your engineer probably looked at that, but a lot of people, a lot of cities are going away from speed bumps, just for that reason.
Thank you for that input. Okay, you want to go ahead?
Okay.
I was just gonna say, you kind of asked if we had any questions, and I'm sure it's something that I can talk with you guys about, but on our property, the backyard of our property sits a good 5, 6, 7 feet above that back lot property. So I'm just hoping you can work with us. We have a deck that comes off and it's 10 feet away from that. We're just hoping that you'll work with us on somehow raising that 7-foot fence. I don't know, so that you're not putting a 7-foot fence that starts 7 feet from your side and ends where we can just walk and fall right over. We just, because we're up so much higher, because, you know, when we built, we had to raise us up so much higher so that we could get a sewer that would drain properly. So I don't know what happens when you build on that lot that's next to us, where the dirt goes, if it gets built up somehow with the elevation, I don't know, because there's quite a pitch from a slope. If you start at Locust and you come down to where we are, we all had to build up. And that's kind of the same thing with the Stewarts. I know their property's up pretty high. So I was just, I mean, that's one of our biggest concerns is we sit up so high, we really don't, we want a fence that we're not gonna, that's gonna also help our side of view, so we're not looking right into, you know,
Right.
the lot that's next to us. So that's kind of our biggest concern.
So so I think like you said, we'd be happy to meet
Yeah,
with you
so I'm-
and discuss that. It's not something we've addressed at this point, but we could.
That's what I figured, but
We'd
I
be
thought that was just
sympathetic.
one of our concerns that I figured that we could talk through, that
Yeah.
if you'd be willing to talk through and help make it work for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Typically, Mike, don't we a lot of times have them put that on the higher of the two elevations?
Yeah, our city
Yeah,
code
it is
addresses
really
that,
the highest.
where there's a difference in property. It's usually on the higher side.
The higher side, they have to put the fence anyway. So they'll work with you, but I think by ordinance, if there's a property line and there's a difference, they have to put it on the higher side anyway.
Yeah. And we don't want them to have like a 14-foot fence on their side or a 15-foot fence on their side, so I don't know, I think there's some things maybe we can work out.
Thank you. Mike, do you want to go ahead with the other?
Let me just make that note real quick. Okay, so on the commercial site plan, let's go to that real quick. Okay, so here's the commercial site plan. This also has the landscaping plan for the commercial. The building's divided up into different bays. Boyd, do you know how many bays it's divided into approximately? So 8 bays. 4 of those will have overhead doors, 4 will not, to try and limit or break up the usage of the building. The staff doesn't think, especially along Songbird Lane here, that meets the 20-foot landscape requirement. So this landscaping plan does need to be updated. Let's see, but we did find that it meets the parking. You can see on the landscape plan, the garbage dumpster doesn't work here. I think they've moved it to another location now, but on this one, at least it didn't work. Let's go to those renderings real quick for the commercial. So couple items as we review. Gave you a table in your staff report on these commercial design standards and how they met this building. It does meet probably the 60% brick requirement. However, the building does look very industrial, office warehouse look. We've given those comments to the developer. A couple things that the ordinance for the commercial design standards requires. Requires that the windows go to the ground. They've done a good job on the windows. They have the transoms and mullions. The windows do need to go to the ground. If not, then they need to provide a window sill. The ordinance talks about building articulation and modulation, so how that building pops out. Also talks about having more of a cornice treatment, and so we didn't find that these particular renderings met the design standards really well for the reasons stated in your staff report. I've talked to Amy, which is Jenny works with, and they are going to update those. I don't know, Jenny, if you have anything.
I was supposed to have them back today, and I keep looking, and he hasn't given me the renderings just yet, but we addressed all of those, the concerns and the articulations, and the windows are gonna go all the way to the ground, so I've re-engaged our consultant, and he's making those changes right now.
Would you keep the flat roof?
That was our plan right now. I mean, we're happy to change it if it needs to be.
And we've approved a lot of flat roofs.
We
It's-
have, if
it's-
if they have the cornice treatment and that type of
And
thing.
that's gonna be part of the updated renderings.
Okay.
This looks a lot like flex use. Is flex use permitted in this zone?
It is not.
So,
That was one of the comments
Oh,
from
okay.
staff, that this looked like a very flex industrial
yeah,
building.
because usually if you have a roll-up door, you're talking about flex use.
Mhm. Now, we do allow auto detailing, you know, we do allow some auto-oriented uses in our commercial zone, so, you know, a building like this could be used for something like that.
Right.
But, one of and you pointed this out also, that the overhead doors, you've got those just on every other unit rather than every unit.
Yes, that's right.
And
There's some examples
so-
of some projects in Draper that looked, I think, kind of what they're going for, maybe not quite there yet. But, you know, they have the big windows and stuff. I took this picture a few weeks ago when I was up in Draper, and this is a very similar type. You can see the little bit more modulation and articulation with that building. I think they're going for something similar.
And those have done real well in Draper. I'm familiar
It's
with
a nice
it.
little business park.
Mhm.
So I don't think the commercial building is there yet.
But the commercial, though, is tied to the site plan approval, though. Yeah,
Yes, now it can be
So-
done in phases, and so if you, in the staff report, I made mention how I put all the motions together for conditional use, site
Right.
plan, and subdivision. Now, you can, and then I also added an exhibit that broke those motions up. So if you wanted to move forward on the residential, you could, and bring back the commercial, or you can keep it all as one motion. They do have to have, before they can start on the residential, they have to have approval for 25% of the square footage of the commercial buildings. They have to have a building permit for that.
And I guess, yeah, that's, just to clarify again, is it building permit? Is it digging the hole? Is it, I guess what prevents someone from pulling a building permit and, you know, a commercial building never happening?
Yeah, I mean, usually if someone's gonna pay $100,000 or so for a building
Drawings
permit,
and to get a
they're-
building
you know,
permit.
typically they'll build that.
Yeah.
So we won't release any residential until they've paid for a building permit.
Until they've paid for the building permit. But I'm just
And-
wondering what
and-
the trigger is, and it's paying for the building permit.
Well,
is the trigger.
and it says construction has commenced, so my interpretation of that would be that, you know, I would see an excavator out there, you know,
Okay,
know,
because
doing
that's what I thought the ordinance was, that construction had to start on it,
Yes,
right?
Yeah, building permits for 25% and construction commenced.
Commenced on that, okay.
And I guess one of my concerns is when we, did this overlay, having commercial along State Street, that was one of our big priorities, because the commercial was to drive the residential. I guess one of the concerns I have is this the only building that's being planned at this point, or do you have other people that are making plans, or?
We've got 2 signed LOIs for different properties. I believe Amy's signed non-disclosure, so I can't tell you who have committed to these. But the one that we are building for sure and keeping is this one that you see right here. So there will be a building in front, more towards State Street. There's gonna be a building to the north there. And then behind Scott Healy, there's potentially gonna be a commercial building. We're still working on that one.
What are LOIs?
Oh, letter of intent. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I should have figured that
No,
out, but.
that's okay.
And so you say 2, so those are probably on the 2 State Street, I'm assuming, not over by Healy.
Yeah, no, they're
So,
the ones.
so you have in the works, hopefully,
Yes.
those 2 going.
Yes, sir.
Any possible tenants of your building? I mean, is it purely speculative now that you think you're gonna build this, and if you build it, they'll come, or have you got something?
Yeah, Amy's been working with one of her really good friends that's a commercial real estate lease guy. I'm struggling with my words right now. Yeah, a broker, excuse me. And she's got a couple of really good leads for some of those. I think maybe half of them would be leased up right away. We're still working on the other portion, but it's gotten really good feedback on the market so far, so I don't think it's gonna.
And without disclosing anything you can't disclose, is there even the nature of the businesses that might go in there? You know, are we talking auto detailing? Are we talking retail? I mean,
Medical?
medical? You know, I mean, is there any
The ones
gist of what would go in there?
The ones that I'm aware of specifically for this building are food establishments. The one to the north is auto-oriented, and then I haven't been in the talks about the one on the front of this long commercial building that we're building, so I'm not sure what kind of a tenant's gonna be there.
So I guess then, if it's food-oriented, roll-up doors, to me, don't seem to match that. So I guess that's why I'm trying to put if that's gonna be, you know, a bunch of cute little restaurants, you know, and we'll have there.
My concern is if you put a building up with a bunch of roll-up doors, you're gonna get automotive uses,
Yeah,
and you may eliminate those who like ice cream parlors and things. They don't wanna be by an automotive.
Yeah.
and yeah, so that was more my question. The roll-up door doesn't seem maybe compatible to that use, and so that's why.
Just a thought.
No, that's a concern.
That's okay. Well, we're kind of going off of the modern take of restaurants right now, like Shake Shack has got the roll-up doors, and it's just a way to make it an indoor, outdoor eating area, and I'm not sure if that's in the code right now, but that's kind of what we were hoping to gear it towards, but we'll obviously stick with tenants that match what the code allows, so.
Okay.
So that's more, I just wonder if it was more just a pure spec building, and we'll see what comes, or if you had
Yeah.
some ideas there.
Some ideas.
Okay, so you've gone through the staff report carefully and
I've tried to.
seen, well, you and Amy, I know she's ill, but, so you can see the concerns we have as far as how it doesn't meet the commercial design guidelines.
Correct. Yes, and
Okay.
we are taking care of that right now, and I wish I had the new ones to show you right now, but
Okay.
I don't.
Just a question for Mike, then. I'm trying to figure out, we could separate out the residential from the commercial if we if we chose to then, as
You
far
can.
as the motion, and so then it would only be the commercial, it wouldn't.
Yeah, because the commercial, it has its own subdivision plat. And I've got that up right here for you. So here's the commercial subdivision plat. It's,
Can you see what they're
let's see,
doing
is this
there?
the right one?
What he's done on that?
Yeah, there's the three lots.
Residential site plan, there's a commercial.
Should there be
This
four?
isn't the most recent, is it? I
So
thought there
we
was
can
four.
separate
There
it.
was one more that has the lot line down the middle.
Between two. Yeah. So this isn't the most up-to-date plat, but I can pull that up so you have it. But this is the four lot commercial development, so lot 2 is split in half. And then you've got the residential subdivision that has the 65 units. So you could split them up between site plan, conditional use, and the subdivisions for the 3 different projects.
Okay. So we also need, as far as we've got 3 different, we can separate out the site plan motions, but we've also got the major subdivision motion and also the conditional use motion.
And Mike, if I can back up to the residential side.
Yeah.
Something that I think was very important that the city council talked about and we talked about, and it's in the staff report here about the homeowners association and limiting it to,
Yes.
if I'm reading it right, then only 20% should be rentals. Maybe a little insight into that,
Right.
whether that has any chance of succeeding, and how that will be enforced or different things. I just was curious about, I'm very happy with that number and I'm pleased that they're willing to do that. I just would like to maybe get a little more insight into what's going on there with that.
Yeah, so that was a condition of approval as well by the city council, that the city and the developer come to an agreement on promoting homeownership and what percentage that should be. The council left that open as we've negotiated in the beginning with our city attorney and their attorney, and then between Mr. Corbridge and myself. That's where we came out, was at that 20% number. So the way that's enforced is by the homeowners association. So if you've got a good association and board in place, they do keep track of the number of rentals. And I've seen associations in the past where during the last recession, they were pretty strict on those. And I have seen them also increase that before. They can always amend their HOA documents to increase that number, but I think this is a good start to have that at 20%.
And so, just because I'm unfamiliar with this, let's say it's at 20% from building out, right? And 20% become rentals. And now someone, 3 years they've lived there and now they want to move to a house and they say, I want to rent it. What would be the conversation that happens at that time?
They should be aware of the HOA.
Right.
And know how many, if any, are even being used. The product these guys are building doesn't really lend
Lend to
itself to rentals.
But who determines it, the HOA or the city?
So
If the city says you have to have 20% in your HOA, can the HOA later change that
they
percentage?
can, yes.
Yeah, that is the HOA that enforces that. The city will not go in and enforce CCNRs, just so you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Is there any outside citizen, from a legal standpoint, if other residents notice that, hey, this is out, they're not abiding by their CCNRs, is there any, at that point?
Outside of, if you're not a member of the HOA, you do not have standing.
So
to
there's
come
no
and
standing,
enforce
okay.
that. Right.
Perfect.
And so, because it's a contractual obligation that's being enforced, and you have to have an interest in the contract, and that is the ownership of the land, so.
And so I would just like to say I am very appreciative that the developers agreed to that and will work with that in the development. I think that's important, and I think their product will lend to that. So, but I am very I think was a big concern of the residents, that they didn't want this to become a rent, just a turnover rental type neighborhood.
To me, as the product line has changed, to me, that's not even a fear of mine right now, so.
I would somewhat agree, because
Gonna say.
the product, and again,
Let's,
those who've gone have known that I've been kind of against a lot of this, but
Yeah.
I am very impressed with the product. For what was approved, I'm very happy with the product we're getting here, so.
let's let Mr. Corbridge provide some
Yeah,
input.
Mr. Marchbanks made one of my points about just the price point of these are not gonna be conducive to be rentals. They're gonna be fairly expensive. And the other is that the homeowners themselves will want that 20% enforced. They're not gonna want their community to turn into a rental community, especially with the kind of buyer that we think we're gonna be attracting, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think it'll take care of, so I'm very happy with it, but
Okay.
I just want you to know, I was really happy with it too. I thought the CCNRs they sent over were very well done and accomplished what we had talked about previously with their attorneys, so I was really pleased with it too.
Great, thank you.
I think as far as discussion, we can bring it back up to the planning commission and decide if we want to give, well, as far as, I don't think there's any additional discussion as far as the major subdivision or the,
Residential site plan.
yeah, other than what action the planning commission wants to take. Is there anything, any other input we need to go through on that, Mike?
No, I just wanted to clarify that that commercial subdivision is 4 lots, so.
Right. Okay. So, one of the things, and Mike and I discussed this afternoon too, whether we want to separate this out and approve, because actually the planning commission does the approval of the site plan and also the conditional use. And the only thing that the city council will approve is the major subdivision. So do we want to wait for approvals until we can also approve the commercial site plan? Welcome. The commercial site plan and the commercial conditional use?
Well,
Or do
question,
we
all
wanna-
these motions are just for the planning commission, aren't they? We're not suggesting,
You have to recommend
To the
approval
council.
of the subdivision to the council.
Which one is it?
The major subdivision.
Major subdivision, second.
yeah, it's not
The
written
actual
right
motion.
then, yeah.
Yeah,
It just says approved, deny, or.
We could move on the site plan motion.
And the major subdivision, is that just the residential?
no, well, we can't
Is there
separate
two?
it out.
There is 2 plats, there's 2 separate plats. You've got the.
Okay. So there's 2 major subdivisions, one commercial. I mean, if we split it, there could be one commercial and one residential.
Yeah, because the commercial, major subdivision is for more than 3 lots, and so where the commercial's 4 lots, it's considered a major subdivision as well.
Right.
And Sharon, I guess I'm even on the commercial subdivision, I'm not opposed to the way they're thinking of dividing the lots.
Well, and that's, I think so too.
And we can recommend it to the city council, and if things aren't done, they don't have to approve what we recommend. If
Right.
I don't know why we can't move on site plan motion and major subdivision.
The only thing.
On the site
yeah.
plan, we're gonna wanna wait on the commercial site plan.
Well, right,
Yeah, I
but
would say
as
that-
far as the residential site plan, but then as far as the subdivisions go, why couldn't we move on both subdivisions?
You
Oh, I
could,
think we
because those are
can.
more of an administrative.
Yeah.
My opinion would be that we continue the commercial site plan until we get something we can look at
Right.
and really feel good about, but, I think the others meet the intent of the code and what we are. The only, I don't know if we could put it in the, if it's appropriate for the motion, but one thing that was brought up at the city council, and I think they agreed, but we have new developers now, is just the idea that all the construction would please be accessed from State Street, that none of the construction vehicles or parking would happen in the residential areas. So I don't know if we can add that to this, I don't know where the appropriate place to put that would be, but, you know, every day I drive by and I notice that for the new car wash and stuff, you know, all the great parking spots for the park are taken up with the construction people. And I just don't want that to overflow into the neighborhoods or any of that, you know, that the construction is, and hopefully, you know, if there was a problem, it'd be addressed and quickly corrected. But I know that was one thing that was agreed to, that the construction access would be from State Street, not from the residential areas.
I mean, I think you could add that as a condition of the conditional use permit.
Okay.
I mean, that's, because that's to mitigate the impact of the use.
Yeah.
And so that's mitigating the issue on the surrounding neighborhood.
Just so that would.
So that would be a condition as far as the conditional use. And,
With
okay.
number 1 under the conditional use for residential, or you find it, I just took that same condition of the city council, that the city engineer and the police department will approve the traffic calming measure prior to final approval. Do you have anything you'd like to see in particular right there?
I would just maybe say that they look at doing something for traffic both ways, whatever they can do, you know, that. And I don't know what they can do, but, you know, if they really try to figure out how to
Okay. Well,
figure that out, so.
so what I'm understanding is, as far as the residential conditional use permit motion, you would want to go ahead with that. The commercial conditional use, probably not, right?
Can I just ask a clarification question? So is it just the renderings and the landscape that are not what you're looking for? I just want to make sure I
Well,
understand.
it's the whole site.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
mainly
plan.
the renderings
For
and
the
the,
site plan.
Okay.
is that mine
Is
that
that
keeps
near you?
doing that? I don't know.
Okay, so, even though we're taking Mike's suggestions and we're gonna make it so that it's with the code, you still need to see it.
We
Yes,
we
yes.
want to make sure it's what we,
Okay.
That's our responsibility to.
Because I don't give approval for it, the
Right.
commission gives approval.
No, I'm just making sure because Amy's stressing to me again that we can't move forward. How did she put it? Let's see, she needs the commercial to be approved before we can build the residential, which I
Right,
know.
right.
So she feels like we're kind of in this catch-22, and the LOIs that we have are contingent upon approval, so.
but that's,
This is out of my realm of expertise, so I'm trying to explain it.
but that is part of the ordinance, that the commercial has to, and there has to be a building permit.
So what was the status
for
of the renderings?
commercial.
Why did those not come through yet?
Oh, they did, they don't match. We had a miscommunication. It was me miscommunicating.
They're being
with our-
redone.
Yeah, and I was supposed to have some today.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're expecting them today.
Yeah,
Darn.
yeah.
So as far as and that, I'm just trying to get straight to motions. The residential conditional use permit, we could go ahead with that. Now, the commercial conditional use permit, that's just approval to develop one commercial building. That's not approving the building itself
Or the site plan.
or the site plan. And
I would probably still wait on
I'd
that.
probably
we'll wait on
continue
that,
one, yeah.
okay. And then the residential site plan motion, from what I understand, we wanted to add on to that a condition that the chief of police and city engineer will approve the traffic calming measures.
That's in the conditional use permit.
Conditional for number 1.
Okay, so that's a conditional use permit too. Okay,
Yeah, on the residential conditional use permit, we were gonna add a second condition about the
The traffic. for-
construction traffic
okay.
entering in off of State Street.
Now, yeah, so the chief of police and city engineer, that will be a condition on the residential and also the construction workers.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've got 2 additional conditions on that.
Just one, it's
When
already.
it's already in there, the engineer.
Oh,
please
yeah,
correct.
that is already in there, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, and on the residential site plan, if the commission feels good about approving that, we could go ahead with that tonight,
Yeah, I think
right?
the only thing on there is if we want to add anything about the bollard lighting, you know, if that needs to be in the conditions. We talked about that for the
Yeah.
trail,
Yeah.
so I think we should add
It does
that.
say, work with city staff to determine if bollard lighting needs to go between the backyards of lots 1 through 24.
I think we just change it to
Just change it to,
that it should, instead of work,
okay,
because we've determined that it should, I think.
okay. And as far as the commercial site plan, we're not ready for that yet. As far as the residential and the commercial major subdivisions, so we agreed that we could probably go ahead with those.
Yeah, and Commissioner Callis, he brought up the correction on these two motions. It's, I move to recommend approval.
Yeah.
So,
Right, okay.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
I'm sorry,
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to text Amy and see what she needs at the same time. So for what we've got going on with our LOIs, would it be okay for you guys to deny the commercial tonight so we can move forward with what we need to?
why would you want it denied?
Rather than continued.
That's what she said.
If you-
Why?
How does that help you?
Let me,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, why don't we move with what we can move
Yeah.
on the residential while she's doing that?
Okay.
Maybe we should step out and talk to
Okay,
Amy
yeah,
as well.
That's totally
You
fine.
want
Because
to?
if not, then, I mean, you're gonna pay another $2,000 and
Okay,
go through this same
Not thinking about
process.
that.
Yeah.
okay, no, I'm fine with
So,
Okay.
are we ready? I'll
Do
make,
you want to go ahead
I want to
with
make the
those
first
motions?
motion if we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay,
I move to approve the applicant's request for conditional use permit approval to develop 46 townhomes and 19 single-family homes located at 550 North State Street with the following conditions. Number one, the city engineer and police department will approve the traffic calming measures for both directions of traffic prior to final approval. Two, that all construction traffic will enter the project from State Street and none of the construction workers will park in residential areas. And number three, all items of the staff report.
I second that motion.
okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And that's on the conditional use. Okay. And then as far as the site plan, we do need to separate that out.
Residential site plan motion.
And so we need
I'll make the motion.
and that's down at the bottom. Did you see where he had attached that?
Right here.
Right, right here?
I move to approve the applicant's request for site plan approval for one commercial building.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
That should be, that's what I get for writing these in the
Yeah.
hospital room with my wife
Yeah.
on.
Just
Friday,
scratch
so-
that for 46 townhomes and 19.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I move to
Residential.
approve for site plan approval for 46 townhomes and 19 single-family homes located at 550 North State Street with the following conditions, 1 through 7 is printed, with 6 being changed to, for resident safety, the applicant will install bollard lighting to go between the backyards of lots 1 through 24 and the fence of the rear yard. Lighting from the units is sufficient. Well, that doesn't need to be in
It's
there.
actually number 9.
9,
It's 6.
6.
Oh, 6, okay.
Yeah. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. And then all items of staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a motion?
That was.
That was the
That's the
motion.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous on the residential. Okay, and then as far as the commercial,
residential.
We're gonna skip that for now.
Major subdivision.
So then as far as the residential major subdivision and the commercial major subdivision,
Are we just skipping everything on commercial for now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you want to approve
I
the
think
commercial
that's what we do.
subdivision.
so we would continue that and continue the,
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I
let-
guess, because the subdivisions go to the council, and we're not, I mean, we could
Well,
send
weren't
that
you
on to
gonna
the
step
council.
out and discuss with her what,
Yes,
okay, let's then approve.
Do the
This.
residential.
just approve the residential.
I can make another motion for the
I
residential.
move to recommend approval.
Yeah, okay.
okay,
I move to recommend approval of the applicant's request to the city council for preliminary major subdivision approval for 46 townhome lots and 19 single-family lots located at 550 North State with the following conditions. 1, the applicant will continue to work with city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering documents and plat. 2, complete or post an adequate improvement completion assurance warrant and post-required assurance for all required public infrastructure improvements. 3, prior to plat recording, the applicant will update the final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures of owners' consent to dedication and obtain signatures of all entities indicated on the subdivision plat attached hereto. 4, the plans and plat will meet and be constructed as per specifications found in the Lindon City Development Manual. And number 5, all items of the staff report.
I second that motion.
okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous.
If you like, we could continue to the next item. What's that, number 8? 5, 6, 7. Yeah, number 8, and Jenny, unless you've heard something from Amy, we can go out and call her, then come back to this item.
Okay, so the two things that we
And-
haven't done this site plan, we haven't done the subdivision and the continual,
For the commercial.
yeah.
And she's gonna talk to Amy, we'll come back.
Mary's going to do the other agenda items while Mike steps out.
Okay. Let's get through all those pictures. And the next item on our agenda is an ordinance amendment, and so we do need a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. I'm trying to get, okay, this is item number 7. This is an ordinance amendment with a daycare land use. And it's with Lindon City. Mary Barnes is our presenting staff.
Thank you. So for this, obviously, you guys are just the recommending body for this application. So this ordinance amendment is simply taking away the current capacity requirement. I'll show you that down here. The current capacity requirement that Lindon has imposed on daycares in the city. I'll get into the difference between the residential and the commercial later, but this is primarily for the commercial daycares. So right now, obviously, commercial daycares can only carry up to 16 children. I assume you all saw the letter from Taralyn Sorensen today. She kind of talked about how that's been a real struggle for her. And I want to highlight that taking away the daycare requirement for commercial daycares, that's not going to cause the daycares to have unlimited children. As you see in the staff report, there is those state requirements. That's what all commercial daycares have to follow to be licensed to take care of children. So there's that, it's called like, I think Taralyn called it, let me see, state square footage capacity instead of this city-imposed capacity of 16 children. So removing this 16-child capacity will significantly help the commercial daycare business owners, possibly help other daycare business owners want to move into Lindon, and help just Lindon residents in general who are searching for daycare. And Bill Fairbanks, he is here on the behalf of Taralyn Sorensen, and so if you have any questions about commercial daycares, you can direct them kind of towards him. Now, I want to kind of talk about this residential daycare, how that will affect.
Just a clarification.
Yeah, of
So
course.
right now, it's at 16.
Right.
And what is the state? Have they moved to change it, or they're discussing that?
Yeah, so it's, for commercial daycares, it's always been more than that. So we're simply coming into compliance with state requirements.
And what does the state say?
So it says it on there, there's kind of ratios and group sizes, and it looks, so for 3-year-olds, for one caregiver, you can have 12 3-year-olds, and each child has to have 35 square feet of indoor space. So it really depends on that, and we don't really look into that. That's the Utah Department of Health and the Child Care Licensing Agency that will take care of that. This will just, so right now we would deny like a business application of a daycare that has 17 children, even though that is completely okay with the state. So this is just helping us come into compliance with the state.
And Mary, if I'm reading this correctly, the state has kind of two requirements, right? There's a square footage per child requirement, and then there's a caregiver
ratio.
per size of group.
Yeah, and I mean, they have so many things like the different background checks that they have to do and the education, the age of the caregivers. I can email it to you later if you'd like, but it's a huge document of all the requirements for it's called a center-based childcare. It's not called commercial daycare, but that's what we define it as in our code. Anyways, so any more questions about the commercial?
Well, and in our code, we would only allow that to be in a commercially zoned
Yeah.
area. Okay.
Now, as far as, and I brought this question up earlier today, as far as if there is a licensed daycare center in a residential area, then as far as how the home occupation
Manage the
ordinance,
traffic and stuff like that.
applies to that.
Yeah, so I can go into that right now. So with the residential daycares, changing this ordinance won't specifically affect that too much, and I'll explain why. So I put this in here. These are just requirements from the Utah Child Care Licensing Agency, just kind of for a reference. But as you can see, but without ordinance, obviously residential daycares fall underneath the home occupation requirement.
Okay.
And with that home occupation requirement, only 25% of floor space in a dwelling can be taken up by the home occupation. So that's not going to change. It'll still be that.
Okay.
And even though we're taking away the capacity requirement, there's still going to be this home occupation requirement. So actually traffic will not be increasing because it's just going to stay the same. Like I said, this ordinance amendment is primarily for the commercial daycares.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
thank
actually
you
changing
for-
anything in the residential
Yeah,
areas.
thanks for clarifying that, because,
For residential, I believe they're a conditional use, and so we can still impose conditions if we need to, on traffic or other things.
Right.
Yes, that was my question. It looked like, now for unlicensed, is that still a conditional use?
So that's I underlined that because it's kind of confusing. So HB 15, the child care amendments, I think it's about to get approved in the legislative session. So that's specifically talking about unlicensed in-home child care. And it's not talking about city licenses, it's talking about that Utah Department of Health, the agency licenses. So residential daycares, you can have up to 6 client children and 6 of your own children, so 12 children total, but if you have only 3 children, So you can have up to 12 children total with 6 of your own children, and you don't have to be licensed with the Child Care Licensing Agency, but you would still have to be licensed with us.
Could you have
the
up to
city.
12 if only one of your children were you?
No,
But it's just a
no.
business license.
You can only have up to
6.
6 client
6
children.
plus your client,
And would
No.
that still then be a conditional use?
Yeah,
Right, so
it's
even
still
unlicensed people, if they're doing childcare, they'll need to come get a conditional
They
use.
need to
permit.
they need to get a business license.
anything
conditional
in
use permit.
residential.
Yeah,
Right.
so this isn't actually affecting the residential too much.
That's what my questions were earlier today.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks for clarifying.
I'm glad
that.
you brought that to me before, so we could kind of come up with something.
Okay.
Questions?
I think it's fine for our commercial to come in line with the
Yeah.
Utah State Department of Health's guidelines. I don't think we need a separate ordinance for that. I don't know what any of the rest of you?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, because ours is limited to that to 16 and.
Ours
that
is more
kind of thing.
restrictive.
And what
Yeah.
we're trying to do is just to get ours so it's in line with the states.
Amend our ordinance.
Yeah, amend our
Right,
ordinance,
yeah.
that's why we're having, the ordinance amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
So-
agree with that.
And I don't think there is any, this is a public hearing, but I don't think there's residents that have questions on that.
I'm going to oppose it, I can tell you that.
Okay. Okay. Then I think we can go ahead and close the public hearing, and then we can,
I move to close the public hearing.
okay, do I have a second?
Second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous on that. And so then, do we have any additional discussion, or do you want to go ahead and make a motion?
I'll make the motion unless there is additional discussion.
I guess this was brought up because someone has the capacity and is hitting that 16
Yeah,
limit, right?
that's Bill, Tarlin wants to move into a
It's-
bigger space, but
And that was the impetus to get this
Yeah.
brought up. It wasn't something we caught on our own. It
In a
was,
commercial,
yeah.
it was
exactly.
someone
Application.
that,
Now, did all of you receive the letter
Yeah.
that they forwarded
yes.
I got it.
as far as
So-
from a resident?
I was wondering what the impetus to get this going was, and it was,
Yeah, yeah,
Just
it
someone
was her and
that would
Bill.
benefit from this because they do have a daycare in a residential area that would benefit from this ordinance.
And the city was actually.
Well, it would be daycare in a commercial area.
A citywide change that, should take place.
So staff agrees and is bringing it forward.
okay, I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I move to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 2022-3-0 as presented, as presented.
I second that motion.
okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous on that. Thank you. And then now we do need to go back to this previous item as far as the action we want to take on the commercial.
Yeah, so we spoke with Amy. Are you okay with me talking, Jenny, on this?
You go right ahead.
So, she would like us to go ahead, if the council or if the commission feels okay with it, to go ahead with the commercial subdivision, knowing that she's got to bring back the site plan and conditional use permit on the 22nd of March. So that way this will allow her to start possibly selling some lots to these tenants who she has LOIs with.
So it's the subdivided lots.
Let's see, does that make sense? I'm trying to think through in my mind. Can we approve that without giving her a conditional use permit?
I think we can, because we're gonna see drawings before we can, issue a,
Read the commercial, conditional use for commercial.
we'd just be approving the subdivision. That doesn't approve any building on the subdivided lots. Right, Mike?
You're not approving a use for those lots yet.
We're just approving the subdivision.
Right, why does it need a conditional use?
It's just what the ordinance, the ordinance required it even before we amended it into what it is today. It required as a conditional use, so
Okay.
we just left that in there.
So, and then also with that, then the subdivision and the residential and the commercial subdivision both of those go to the city council rather than separate. Yeah, so they could go, so the city council could do all that they can do on it all at once.
Yep.
So,
And by then, we should have updated renderings we can show the council as well. Even though they won't be approved by the commission yet, we can
At least show them
at least show them what they'll look like.
so as far as what we still need to do then, as far as the conditional use, we would continue that
Yes.
on the commercial, and then also continue the site plan. And then we could go ahead and approve, recommend approval for the commercial. Right, for the major
For the
subdivision.
commercial.
Right. Okay, do one of you want to go ahead with that?
I can tackle at least the first two.
Okay,
I move to continue the applicant's request for conditional use permit approval to develop one commercial building located at 550 North State Street.
Wait a minute.
okay. I have a motion.
I second that motion
Your
Okay.
motion was to continue?
to continue.
I have a motion, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous.
Okay. I also move to continue the applicant's request for site plan approval for one commercial building located at 550 North State Street.
I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay, and then do you want to go ahead with the commercial?
I'll let someone else do that one.
Okay,
I'll do that.
okay.
And we're,
Recommending.
approval for the major subdivision.
right, I move to recommend approval for the applicant's request to the city council for preliminary major subdivision approval for 4 commercial lots located at 550 North State with the following conditions, 1 through 4, and number 5, all items on the staff report.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay,
Okay.
and that completes that item, is that right?
That's great. Thank you so much. You guys
Thank
That
you
makes
so much,
sense.
and hope
Okay.
That
Amy
makes
can
sense.
get feeling
It
better.
I know, I'll let her know. Thank you.
Good luck, and good luck with the LOIs and
Yeah.
securing those tenants.
We're excited to be moving on it. Thank you
Okay.
guys.
You're
Have a
welcome.
Good night.
Okay. Okay, I guess we're down to what you want to do on the planning commission chair and vice chair.
We want to punt. Not everybody's here.
It'd be nice if everyone was here when we do that.
Let's continue that and put that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now.
Well, and one thing we do know is that on March 8th, we will not have a meeting because it's the caucus
Yeah.
meetings. So it would be March
22nd?
Second.
22nd. And that's fine, whatever you want to do
Can we
on
kick
that.
the can down the road a little further?
That's what I get.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can. You don't have to do it tonight.
I make a motion that we let Sharon continue and the other members continue until the March
22nd.
22nd meeting and then discuss it then.
Or until you have a full quorum, or
Yeah, until we have a full,
Until we have full quorum.
yeah,
Okay.
commission, not quorum, you have a quorum, so.
commission, yeah.
Okay.
We have a
that's
quorum,
fine.
we just don't have all the commissioners to give input.
Yeah,
Or we
and-
could elect those 2 that are absent.
There you go.
That's what we should do.
There you go.
Okay. And then we're on to the,
I made that motion. We
I
probably-
second it.
Second. Aye.
I guess it is a motion, I guess, huh? Okay.
It's just an agenda item.
As far as we're down to the planning commissioner reports and the planning director reports. And Mike, you'll probably cover some of these in your report. It would be interesting as far as what you can tell the group as far as some of the possibilities on 700 North development. But that's up to you, what you feel like you can go ahead
I
with.
can just say we met with some developers last week. There are 3 different developers involved. They would develop the entire north side of 700 North It'd be a mix of commercial, some residential. But I'm gonna meet with them on Thursday and kind of talk more about site planning and stuff, so.
You know, I think the commercial's eking its way east.
Yeah,
You look there on the, I think it's the last, I don't know if it's the last, but in Pleasant Grove, just before the Lindon property, they're building another building right now, commercial.
yeah,
So it's pretty much filling up, and I think we're gonna start benefiting from all of that.
yep, I would agree with you.
And there's another at least 5,000 doors going in just west of there and a little bit to the north on the mostly in American Fork.
On the west side of the freeway?
No, yeah, basically in back of the old Savage property.
Yeah.
By the Front Runner Station west of?
By the what?
The Front Runner Station.
No.
In American
That
Fork?
far out.
No,
Oh, not that far
real
north?
close, it's close to the PG Boulevard area, but it's on the American Fork side of the
Right,
Yes.
old Graff,
Yeah, that's right.
the Graff property.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, we're gonna get benefit of a lot of doors,
yes.
so.
Yeah,
As
coming to the
they
commercial.
draw their circles.
All right. Anything else? The only thing I have is, gosh, where we have a groundbreaking date now for the temple.
It's in
Do you have-
April, isn't it?
Yeah, April 23rd.
Do you have any additional information on that?
I don't. They said, well, Mr. Corbridge is the chair over the groundbreaking committee.
Oh, he is?
Yes, and so he and I talked the other day. I think they're limiting it to about 300.
Hopefully the planning commission will get invited, right?
I don't know about that.
Aren't we considered something?
We could have turned them down, you know.
I'll make.
Very reasonable.
I'll make that best. I know I think
Asking for,
Wayne,
we're not asking for a shovel, okay? We're just,
No, we just
we'll
wanna be in
we'll
the
just be there,
seats.
you know?
I'll talk to him.
Or even standing up.
Whatever.
You could go stand on the trail and just watch it
I
as well,
know,
so
I know, or
Like, that's not good enough. You're gonna have to try harder.
sit on
I will try. I don't,
Acherson's lawn.
so. I just had one item for tonight. I pulled up the city calendar. Adam asked me to get some potential dates from you for joint meetings. We were going to have one in February and that didn't work. Here's the two dates in March. City council meets on the 7th and 21st. We meet on the 22nd. So is there some dates that might work best for you?
How busy is the 22nd for us, do you think?
Right now, it would probably just be this item.
Continuation of this
Can you
one?
think of anything else, Mary?
No,
Which, if it looks good, shouldn't, I just can't get here before 6.
Right.
So
Same.
that's,
So we
you
could
know, I
do
know the
city
city
council
council
at
has a
6.
propensity to go earlier, but it's a struggle for me to get here at 6.
No,
So
but they'd be coming on our night, so they could come at 6 and we could do our business afterward.
Yeah,
Or I can check on their agenda as well on the 7th and 21st and
Yeah.
see how many items are on that. And
And we'd go on the tail end of that,
yeah, does Mondays work for you guys as well?
yes?
Make-
Because it wouldn't be till 7:30 technically that they would need us there
Right.
if we couldn't be there at the
with
beginning.
Jeff gone, are you guys still gonna meet on Mondays? Are you?
We've got a couple others that are,
Oh, okay.
I need Monday as well.
That's right. We may have, Walmart's doing a fuel station down there in their parking lot, so that might come to you on that date as well.
To us on the
Send us an
22nd.
email when you think it'd work and.
So those three dates would tentatively work for you guys?
You said the 7th, the 22nd, and the what?
21st.
Yes, I could do any three of those. How about you? Sharon, could you guys do any of those three dates?
tell me the dates one more time.
7th, 21st, and 22nd.
When you say the 7th, you mean
Of March?
Yes.
All March dates.
March dates.
I should be able to.
22nd be better for me.
Me too.
Okay, 21st, 22nd be better. 7th is my birthday, so that would be better for me too.
Oh,
so.
good.
I got an anniversary, so.
On
that
the
was-
7th?
No, it's actually, but I'm leaving on the
Oh,
7th.
okay.
Where
So
are you
20,
going?
You know what? We haven't decided yet, but we are going. We may just end up in St. George, but we'll probably be gone for 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
okay.
The 21st and 22nd work. I would prefer not Monday night, but I could make it work.
Sounds good.
How soon will you know that?
I could probably find out tomorrow at our budget meeting.
Sure. I mean, the sooner the better.
Okay.
And I don't have anything else except to say that we're glad to have Daryl with us. Glad to have you on the city council. and-
this first planning commission meeting I come to. Very sharp.
Well, we only had 4 of us here most of the time. We needed the others too.
I knew Renee was sharp.
Yeah.
You're just super tardy, sorry.
Well, thank you for being here with us. Mike, do you have,
No, thanks
Other
for
items?
all you guys do. That was a lot of items tonight to
oh
fit
man,
in
I
and
had a
to,
hard time keeping
and to
it all
coordinate, so.
straight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, isn't there a development that Jeff Souther's gonna be doing, or has that
There
been
is.
approved, or is that still pending?
No, that's been approved. Do you want to see that one real quick?
It's back behind Lindon Nursery.
Keep it anybody
Yeah.
here, but.
That one.
I think this one's much nicer.
Wayne's or?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's the higher end.
Yeah, this is higher end. Now, I guess my question with this is that in the city council process, as you're pulling that up, Mike, Mayor Lundberg mentioned that this ordinance is being revisited.
We're gonna talk about it on the 7th of March with the council.
The council's gonna talk about it on 7th of March. Will that then come back through us, or
It would
just?
have to, yep.
So she just mentioned that it was gonna be revisited, so.
Have it in the ordinance
Yeah, let me,
or in the development agreement. So we couldn't do anything about it. Okay.
so this is the site plan.
This is behind the Linden Nursery.
Yeah, so Lindon Nursery is right here,
Okay.
and then that's the barn.
Right.
So then it has 58 townhomes behind it. And then,
Be rentable.
they're subdivided, so they can be sold, but I think his plan is to rent, more of them.
I think he's selling them to investors that are gonna rent them. I think
What,
is the plan.
what's the unit count?
Point, do we know?
He
What's
was,
the what?
Does he ever discuss price point of what units will sell for, or is that a planning commission concern?
I think he was around
Well, this, but it was
350 or
quite a while
something.
ago. Yeah.
It went above 3.
350 or something like that.
Probably a two-bedroom then, probably.
I think they're 2 and 3 bedroom. So they're more, he's going for more of the farmhouse style look to match the nursery and the barn.
That's good.
And that was one thing that was really difficult for us, is that he really, when he was going for approvals, and he really told us that these would be owner occupied and all those things, but it wasn't into the ordinance. And so then he said, well, you required so much that I couldn't do that anymore.
Well, he
So-
said he was trying to claim that we required so much that he now couldn't make them
Right.
low-income housing.
Well, they weren't ever low-income
Well,
housing,
In his mind,
they weren't. And so
affordable housing.
by not having that in the agreement or the ordinance, then we,
This didn't pose near the problem though, where ingress and egress was all out to State Street. We
Yeah.
weren't
yeah.
imposing anything on any neighborhoods.
But this, yeah, well, it's off.
What's behind all of that to the west?
There's a subdivision to
Housing.
the west.
Okay, it's already built out on this.
Yeah, it's built out, there'll be nothing going through it.
And he did go in and install the 7-foot wall prior to any construction, just as a courtesy to the neighborhood, which I thought was good.
Yeah, that's nice.
Is the sewer going through or something right now? I think there's some,
It's going through this lot right here.
Going
It's
through.
coming down that property line.
yeah, it's kind of going through a mess right now, but.
How many doors again was it?
58?
He originally wanted 99, so,
What are the street names gonna be?
what's that?
This one I don't know. The Songbird Cove is,
Okay, we've got to rethink that. I do, those,
I like,
Do you?
you what?
I like 200 north, 300
Yeah.
north,
And
255 north.
I,
like those.
I thought we
So
had to
that's
like
a-
approve name streets.
That's a.
Like Ray's Circle, I remember it was a
think
big
this-
deal. They came before us and asked us to please recommend Ray's Circle to be named, and so,
I mean, typically we just put them on the plat and,
okay.
I mean-
Maybe if it's renaming, but I just remember that was a big deal when Larry Walker wanted it named after his dad. And he actually came and had to petition us to, so I don't know if that's in the code somewhere that we actually have to,
Well, and again, that wasn't.
I know changing is, but I'm not,
Changing.
yeah.
the county actually prefers numbers as well. They just like the names because then they have to, if it's a corner lot, you have basically have 4 addresses with 2 names and 2 numbers, but.
Well, yeah, why aren't they doing numeric numbers? You know, why aren't they doing numeric names for those, you know, just like everybody else in Lindon, we're all on our,
Because unless we have an ordinance saying you only can do numeric.
well, can we at least suggest, I mean, they missed an opportunity. It's on an old equestrian land. We could have gone with more equestrian theme versus,
I'll make a suggestion.
I mean,
Names get real tough down the road anyway, just because in the county, they can't replicate any names anywhere else.
what do you mean?
Well, when I was developing in Salt Lake County, I had to go through a myriad, because they wanted names up there.
But they had to be, everyone had to be
It
original?
had to be something different than anywhere else in the county.
County or city?
Well, Salt Lake County was unincorporated, so.
Well, in Salt Lake County, their whole county's on a grid, or on the same addressing, so it's not like here in, one side of the street in Orem, you've got
In
one
Lindon.
address, and Lindon, you're on another side. Salt Lake County does it.
It's all,
Well,
Yeah.
one nice thing is with names, at least in today's world of Google Maps, you don't have as hard a time, but I like numbers.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you talk to people from out of state, I'm sure you have had comments to yourself, good heavens, what, do you just live on a grid out there? Because everybody else is used to
So
The
you
names.
didn't like the Songbird?
I didn't like any of those names they chose, no.
Yeah.
And
I,
I don't like the
You know
way
what,
that,
most developers would let somebody else name for them, so the volunteer.
well, I'd like to see also the commercial be more congruent in design with the residential. Meaning, I like the more contemporary, mountain modern look of the commercial. I'd like to see that flow to the residential. And I was listening to the, when I was driving in, and roll-up does not mean automotive anymore. Roll-up doors are quite hip. Someone will roll up a door and have a barber shop.
I know what you're saying, but you put roll-up doors, you're inviting automotive.
No,
Yes.
because those icky,
Yes, you
those
are.
icky doors, yes, but if you were the more contemporary glass ones, it's just a wall that gives you the opportunity to open up. A lot of restaurants are doing it, so you automatically take advantage of nice weather and you've got indoor, outdoor seating.
Mark my word.
Mark mine.
You
I
know
think-
where, what's Gary's service station? What is that now?
The old Gary's Maverick,
Yeah, what is that service station now? You know,
still called Gary's, isn't it?
I don't think so. It's a
Tesoro.
national brand.
Tesoro.
Tesoro. So you go down that development just to the south of them,
What city are
And
you
they-
talking about?
Orem. And they built these storefronts with roll-up decks. Every one of them is an automotive thing. That's just
You
what.
know what?
But how old are they? How old are they?
That actually was intended to be
I know.
an automotive park.
That's
I
right,
know.
it was meant to be like an automotive corridor where you come in and get all your needs taken
See,
care
maybe
of.
what we could do is have them drawn like a full glass commercial.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'd be opposed if somebody come in with a building permit
No.
and wanted to al fresco the restaurant and let them change it out.
Sure, no,
to
no,
a-
no problem with that, but
Yeah.
that's not what it's gonna
'Cause,
invite.
right, you do see a lot of it now.
Yes.
You see some of it now.
Yeah, you're seeing
Not a
more.
lot of it.
You're seeing more.
Get in, get out more. You need to get out more.
That Draper,
That's my life.
that Draper subdivision that Mike brought up, it was actually designed with more doors than it ended up getting, but they're using the doors actually to just open up to the outdoor.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna elbow you when the first automotive comes in for,
I've seen furniture and I've seen home decor places, you know, have that roll up and they open it up. They have patio furniture, or they have other sort of,
talking about flex uses.
I guess.
That's not a flex use.
No, they could have a showroom.
Okay,
Okay, end this meeting.
You gotta agree to disagree.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go home.
It's